Let's get to football IQ. These guys, Caleb Calhoun and John Adams, basically dreamed this bit up, and it's fantastic, and you can't beat it. So, football IQ, you have 2 different levels. Let's go 3 different levels. You have kind of stupid.
That's crazy.
You have pretty stupid.
You suck, you jackass.
And then you have Peyton Manning, the incredibly stupid coaching decisions.
They're like, that is total bullshit.
Yes, thank you, Peyton. All right, so let's start it off, Caleb. What did coaches do dumb over the weekend?
All right, so we got number 5, and it was, by the way, this was a great weekend because it was all the, like, some of the most high-profile coaches were in here. So we start with last year's coach of the year, Sonny Dykes, who was in the national championship game last year. Texas beat TCU 29-26. TCU had a thrilling comeback. They were down 26-6 and almost pulled it out. I'm looking at the moment they were down 26-6. They drove to the TCU 2-yard line. They had a running back averaging to the Texas 2-yard line. They had a running back averaging about 5 yards a carry. The previous 2 plays, he had gotten 8 yards, got them to the 2. It's 3rd and goal from the 2-yard line, and Sonny Dykes calls 2 passes, both incomplete. And so TCU was stopped on a turnover on downs.
John, what level are you giving that?
Maybe thought the running back was tired. I think I'll go with your first one, your lowest level of stupidity there.
All right.
Yeah.
Caleb, what else you got?
All right, number 4. It's my old hating of punting, and it involves Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. Okay, can y'all at least give me this? When it's 4th and 1 and you're in a shootout and you're the underdog and you're at midfield, that is a time to not punt. That's a time to go for it. And Deion early in the second half had Colorado. The game was tied at 24. There were 24 points scored by both teams at the first half when Colorado was hosting a top 25 Arizona team as a double-digit underdog. And at 4th and 1 near midfield, when Colorado has the ball in the second half, it was right at midfield. It was at the 50. Deion Sanders decides to punt. He also punted later, by the way, on a 4th and 1 at the 44 with the score tied. I didn't mind that one as much. I hate punting in general, but that was at his own 44. But the 4th and 1 4th and 1 at midfield in a shootout, 24-24, when you are the underdog, you got to go for that.
Where is midfield? I mean, are you
50.
saying right at the 50?
Right at the 50.
Okay, well, that's my rule. Then I would.
You suck, you jackass.
I would go for it. I would go for it, John. That's my rule. That if it's the 49, I would disagree with Caleb, but at the 50, I go for it. Let me ask you this question, though, John. How dumb was that? But also the Deion Sanders experiment. Does that continue on successfully, or does that stumble upon itself?
I thought from the get-go it would blow up. I just think Deion's approach, I mean, he certainly brought a lot of attention to Colorado. He's a great promoter and a great salesperson. But when you're talking about turning over your roster like he is, and I think players have to wonder, will we want to kick me off the team at the end of this season? I think that we've talked some about team chemistry. I think that can be a negative fact. When things are going well, Deion is your guy. Things aren't going so well, I'm not sure he's your guy. And I'm not a Deion hater at all. But I don't know if this plan, this great scheme of his can work out at this level.
All right, Caleb,
What'd you think of the punt on 4th and 1, John, though? What were your thoughts?
No, well, I'm not. I think you're crazy obsessive about punting. I mean, let's establish that. And I think you have. So, no, but I agree with you. What you have to do, and you have to consider the situation, the flow of the game, the talent on the other team. If this is a 7-7 game and it's 4th and 1 at midfield, I'm saying, okay, I'm going to pin these guys deep because they have no offense. Well, maybe we'll get a turnover. Maybe we'll get the ball back in an even better situation. But no, in that situation, I'm shocked that he would not go for it.
All right, Caleb, what else we got?
All right, so moving on. Our man Mario Cristobal, the football IQ king of the year.
Yeah.
I love this one, guys. So Florida State beat Miami because Miami was short a timeout and desperately trying to move the ball late in the game and threw an interception and could have used that timeout when Florida at that point, or when Florida State got the ball to try to stop the clock and get it back one more time. The reason they didn't have that timeout was because with the score tied at 10 early in the third quarter, a 3rd and 13 came up from the FSU 30. Mario Cristobal decided to burn a timeout. Now, this wasn't a clock winding down delay of game. This was, let me call a timeout to talk about this 3rd and 13 play. And then he comes out of it and calls a screen that loses 3 yards.
John, if I went culmination Mario Cristobal calls, I would go with Peyton. But because we're just discussing one technically.
You suck, you jackass.
That's what I'm going to. And
Well,
it makes you giggle a lot.
Yeah, in fairness to your system, I think it's a very thin line between you suck and that's total bullshit. Okay? It's very, very thin line. And I kind of lean toward the you suck assessment.
Which one is worse?
I laugh every time you do
I know
that.
you do.
God,
It's like
is this Pete bad or just middle bad?
yeah, I think the call by itself is middle bad, but as a whole, Mario Cristobal, who I used to be a huge proponent of and thought he was going to be a great coach based off sources I have in Alabama, I'm off that bandwagon for sure. I made a huge mistake on that. Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online. I've got one for Tennessee. The premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best CBD or Delta products. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Use the promo code HOOKED for 10% off. They also have the Big Orange Crunch that you can get right there. So check it out. All right, Caleb, what else we got? Football IQ.
All right. Okay, so number 2, it's Maryland, Nebraska. So I don't know if you guys watched this game, but I actually believe in Matt Rhule because I'm an
wait a
analytics
minute,
guy.
though, Caleb. Explain something to me. Why were you watching that game? Oh,
yes, I was.
Yeah.
And I never
mind.
really
Never
brought
mind.
Maryland up, but like this one, I couldn't help but bring it up. Matt Rhule, who I'm a believer in. I actually think what Matt Rhule's doing at Nebraska is a pretty good job. And I think,
yeah, I agree.
yeah, but this game, so just for the context, Nebraska had 4 turnovers to this point. It's a 10-10 game. They had a 3rd-string quarterback in there by the name of, I love this, Chubby Purdy. That was his name. Yes,
Chubby
his name is
Purdy?
Chubby Purdy. Yeah, I'm sorry, Chubba Purdy. Excuse me.
Chubba.
I read
Chubba.
Chubba
Oh, I
Purdy.
was this guy like 5'1", 150 pounds.
So
out there.
let me bring up let me just bring this in real quick. Nebraska
By
has
the way,
4
I think
turnovers.
I think the Big Orange Crunch has some Chubba in it.
Nebraska has
Anyway.
4 turnovers already in the game. Okay, it's a 10-10 game. Their other 2 quarterbacks have thrown a combined 3 interceptions. Chubba Purdy has completed 1 pass, yet miraculously they get to the red zone with 3 minutes to go. Now, in a 10-10 game where you've had 4 turnovers and you're in the red zone with 3 minutes to go and you've run the ball the whole way down the field and you have a quarterback who's completed 1 pass, you don't put the ball in the air, right? That's just rule number 1. You take the field goal and get out of there with the win. But Matt Rhule was like, let me throw it with my quarterback who has completed 1 pass. They won't be expecting that. Sometimes I think coaches are like, I think outside the box. They won't be expecting that. In my mind is, yeah, they're not going to expect you to be so stupid. And so, like, he throws it with Chubba Purdy, and Chubba Purdy throws an interception, and Maryland returns it, and then that sets up Maryland for a game-winning field goal to win 13-10.
I'm not. I mean, I don't care what the situation is. Chubba Purdy, someone named Chubba Purdy, is not throwing a pass on my behalf. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go with that one on this.
That's crazy.
Travis says, simmer down now. Caleb's getting pretty excited. All right, so I've got one. Is that all you have, Caleb?
No,
'Cause I have one.
I got one more, but I think we should save this one because this was a Butch Jones-esque performance. So give me your Tennessee one.
Tell me
first.
the game. Give me a
Penn
hint.
State and
What game
Penn
is it?
State and Michigan.
Thank you. I was wondering if we would get around to that. Okay.
What
good.
was that?
Well, no, go. He
Yeah.
wants to close.
You got to
that,
close with
Dave.
this, Dave. It was a Butch
Well, I got
Jones
a
game.
good Tennessee. I got a good Tennessee close. So let's.
Okay, fair
Okay,
enough.
it's your show. Go ahead.
All right. James Franklin coached a Butch Jones in the Swamp game on Saturday. And it starts with down 14-3 in the first half. Penn State scores a touchdown. You don't chase points here. Kick the extra point. James Franklin goes for 2 because, you got to cut it to a field goal lead in case these are the only points anybody scores the rest of the game and you need a field goal to tie. Dave, that's not it, though. This is a series of my headline is not James Franklin's call. It's James Franklin ... all game. And so after
You suck, you jackass.
I think that is incredibly dumb and almost went the next level. John, you can't be chasing points. I think it sends the wrong message to your team until you get into the probably fourth quarter, late third, but especially not in the first half.
Yeah, I wonder what the manual said about the chart on when to go for 2.
That's still not his worst decision of the game, though, because in the second half, James Franklin decided to burn a timeout to punt on 4th down. Now, that was a great punt play he drew up out of the timeout, guys. That was just incredible. I was really blown away.
Yeah, I will say this too. Caleb and I have talked about how easy it is to win at LSU because of the in-state town of Louisiana. There's a similar thing to a smaller extent in the state of Pennsylvania. Those kids really love Penn State, despite all the bad stuff that's happened, which I don't want to get into. But
Penn State really loves kids.
In other words, James Franklin, we see that his stock is dropping via Smoky Mountain Red. I think that's an easy place to win. I think he's held on there too long. And I think if Penn State really wants to take it to the next step, he's helped rebuild the program, John. But I don't think they win long-term with the former Vanderbilt coach. You?
Well, the thing is, though, I still give him tremendous credit for what he did at Vanderbilt. That was unheard of. So I think he's a good coach. Maybe he's not as good a coach now as he was in that situation. I think he'll win wherever he goes. He may not win at the level you expect, but he's going to win a bunch of games.
Okay, here we go. So
wait. There's still one more dumb decision he made. I told you guys it's James Franklin all game.
Okay. All right.
So then it's 17-9, and guys, hell's about to freeze over. This is when you do punt the ball. It's 4th and 6 from his own 30. A 17-9 game. Michigan has only scored a field goal in the second half, and James Franklin goes for it after using a timeout to punt on 4th and 2 early.
That's a Hal Mummy-esque decision, John.
Oh, very much so. I remember going on 4th down from his own 21, I think, on his first possession in Neyland Stadium. That worked out well.
And that's Michigan the ball, by the way, and they score a touchdown to go.
You know what that made me think of, John? Back in the days when I played NCAA college football or Madden, like somebody's had too much to drink if they're going for it on their own 21 on 4th down.
Yeah, or maybe they just got a real bad short-term memory.
Yes,
and they've forgotten that it's 4th down. I like that. What was the most impressive thing about the Franklin mistakes was how excited Caleb got going through each of the mistakes. Did you notice how his passion for this just kept building? When he got to the last one and you tried to cut him off, if you were within shooting range, he would have fired right
in the leg. All right, mine is not playing Nico to this point, and I'm going to go ahead and say
that is total bullshit.
And it is.